The morning sun cast long shadows across the concrete forecourt of Sunny Petroleum Station as Emeka adjusted his faded blue uniform for what he knew would be the last time. His supervisor, Mr. Adebayo, had made it clear yesterday that today marked the end of his employment. Business is slow, costs are high, the man had said with barely concealed satisfaction. Emeka had worked at this station for 3 years, through scorching Lagos heat and torrential rainy seasons, always punctual, always honest with the fuel measurements. As he checked the fuel pumps and cleaned the nozzles, memories flooded back of regular customers who had become like extended family. There was Mama Ngozi, who bought fuel for her generator every Tuesday, and young Cunnell, who worked night shifts and always stopped by at dawn. Today felt different, though, heavier somehow. The familiar sounds of Lagos traffic seemed muted, and even the usual banter with his colleague Tun felt forced. Emeka knew that by evening, he would join the countless unemployed young men in Lagos, searching for opportunities in a city that seemed to create dreams as quickly as it crushed them. The station came alive with its usual morning rhythm as commuters rushed to beat the infamous Lagos traffic. Emeka moved through his routines mechanically, filling tanks and checking oil levels while his mind wandered to his uncertain future. His savings were meager, barely enough to cover next month's rent for the small room he shared with his younger brother in Mushin. The thought of telling Chaik that he had lost his job made his stomach churn. "Emeka, you look like someone stole your last naira," Tun joked while polishing a car windscreen. If only he knew, Emeka thought. The irony wasn't lost on him that on his final day, business seemed particularly brisk. Car after car pulled in, and he worked with the same diligence he had always shown, taking pride in accurate measurements and courteous service. Perhaps Mr. Adebayo would notice his dedication and reconsider, though deep down, Emeka knew the decision was final. The man had been looking for reasons to reduce staff, and Emeka's occasional tardiness during his mother's illness had provided the perfect excuse. Around midday, when the sun had reached its merciless peak and the asphalt shimmered with heat waves, an imposing black Range Rover pulled into the station. The vehicle looked out of place among the usual taxis and commercial buses that frequented Sunny Petroleum. Behind the wheel sat a woman in her early 40s, her designer sunglasses reflecting the harsh light, her expression tense with obvious frustration. Emeka approached the vehicle with his usual professional demeanor, despite the sweat beading on his forehead. "Good afternoon, madam. How may I help you?" The woman lowered her window partially, revealing an air-conditioned interior that felt like paradise compared to the external furnace. "Fill it up, premium," she said curtly, her voice carrying the crisp accent of someone educated abroad. As Emeka began the process, he noticed her repeatedly checking her phone and glancing at her watch. Something was clearly wrong, beyond just the typical Lagos stress that marked everyone's face during rush hours. As Emeka worked, the woman, who had introduced herself as Mrs. Adora Akwu, began to pace beside her vehicle, her designer heels clicking against the concrete. Her phone rang constantly, and Emeka couldn't help but overhear fragments of tense conversations about delayed meetings and frustrated investors. When he finished filling the tank, she slid her card into the payment terminal. The machine beeped once, twice, then displayed an error message. "Try again," she said, her frustration evident. The card was rejected a second time, then a third. Mrs. Aqua's composed facade began to crack. "This is impossible. I just used this card an hour ago." She tried another card, then another. Each rejection seemed to drain more color from her face. Emeka watched sympathetically as she frantically called her bank, only to be put on hold repeatedly. The fuel gauge showed 15,000 naira worth of premium petrol, more than Emeka earned in a week. Standing there in the blazing sun, watching this obviously successful woman grapple with a situation beyond her control, Emeka felt an unexpected surge of empathy. Mrs. Aqua ended another fruitless call with her bank and leaned against her car, momentarily defeated. "The banks are saying there's a system-wide issue with card payments. It could take hours to resolve." She looked at Emeka with desperate eyes. "I have the most important meeting of my career in 30 minutes across town. If I don't make it..." She didn't finish the sentence, but the weight of whatever opportunity hung in the balance was written across her face. Emeka found himself at a crossroads. Company policy was absolute. No fuel without payment. He had seen colleagues dismissed for smaller infractions. But this was already his last day, and something about Mrs. Aqua's genuine distress moved him. She wasn't throwing her weight around or making demands. She was simply a human being in crisis. "Madam," he said quietly, glancing around to ensure Mr. Adebayo wasn't watching, "go to your meeting. Pay when you return." Mrs. Aqua stared at him in disbelief. "Are you serious? You would do that for a stranger?" Emeka nodded, knowing he was probably making the most expensive mistake of his life. Mrs. Aqua's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "Young man, you don't understand what you're doing for me. This meeting, it could change everything." She quickly scribbled her phone number on a business card. "I'll be back within 2 hours, I promise. And I won't forget this kindness." As she drove away, Emeka watched the Range Rover disappear into the Lagos traffic, a knot of anxiety forming in his stomach. Tund approached, having witnessed exchange. "Guy, you done mad? You just give that woman free fuel. Mr. Adebayo go kill you if he find out." Emeka shrugged, surprising himself with his calmness. "I'm already finished here anyway." Sometimes you have to take chances on people. For the rest of his shift, Emeka kept glancing toward the road, hoping to see the black SUV return. As the hours ticked by and evening approached, he began to wonder if his act of kindness had been terribly misplaced. Perhaps Mrs. Aqua was a sophisticated con artist, or worse, perhaps she had simply decided that a fuel attendant's trust wasn't worth honoring. As the sun began its descent toward the Lagos skyline, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Emeka completed his final tasks at Sunny Petroleum. Mr. Adebayo emerged from his office with Emeka's final paycheck, disappointingly light after deductions, and perfunctory speech about difficult business decisions. There was no acknowledgement of Emeka's years of loyal service, no good why. Standing outside the station in his civilian clothes, Emeka felt oddly liberated despite his uncertainty. The familiar environment that had defined his daily routine for 3 years now felt foreign. He was about to begin the journey home to Mushin when he heard the distinctive purr of a high-end engine. The black Range Rover pulled up beside him, and Mrs. Aqua stepped out, her earlier distress replaced by a radiant smile. In her hand was an envelope that looked far thicker than the 15,000 naira required for fuel. "I told you I wouldn't forget," she said, her voice warm with emotion. Mrs. Aqua handed Emeka the envelope, but when he opened it, his eyes widened. Inside was 100,000 naira in crisp notes, along with a business card she had written her number on earlier. "Madam, this is too much," he protested, trying to return the excess money. She held up her hand, refusing to take it back. "That meeting you made possible just secured the biggest contract of my career. I'm launching a logistics company, and I need someone I can trust absolutely." She explained how her potential investors had been on the verge of withdrawing their support due to her lateness to previous meetings. Today's punctuality had sealed a deal worth millions of naira. "What you did today wasn't just kindness. It was a calculated risk based on reading character. Those are exactly the qualities I need in a business partner." Emeka's head spun as she continued. "I've been watching how you work all day. You're meticulous, honest, and you understand people. I'm offering you a position as operations manager in my new company, plus a small equity stake. Are you interested in changing your life?" Mrs. Aqua, who insisted Emeka call her Adora, outlined her vision over dinner at a modest restaurant near the station. Her logistics company, Phoenix Express, would focus on reliable, technology-driven delivery services across Lagos and eventually all of Nigeria. "The market is huge but underserved," she explained, her passion evident in every word. "People and businesses need dependable partners, not just service providers." Emeka listened intently as she described her background. An MBA from London Business School, 10 years in corporate logistics, and a burning desire to build something of her own. "I have the business knowledge and the capital, but I need someone who understands Lagos from the ground up, someone who knows what real people need." She leaned forward, her eyes intense. "Your decision today showed me you understand that business is ultimately about human connections and calculated risks. That's invaluable. The position would start at 3 times his fuel station salary, with performance bonuses and growth potential that seemed almost too good to believe. As Adora spoke, Emeka felt a mixture of excitement and terror. This was either the opportunity of a lifetime or an elaborate setup for disappointment. That evening, in the cramped room he shared with his brother Chaik and Mushin, Emeka recounted the day's extraordinary events. Chaik, a university student studying computer science, listened with growing amazement and skepticism. "Brother, this sounds like those 419 advance fee fraud stories. Rich woman suddenly wants to make the poor fuel attendant her business partner? It doesn't add up." Emeka understood his brother's caution, but something deep inside told him Adora was genuine. He showed Chaik her business card. Expensive stock, embossed lettering, legitimate company details. They spent hours researching online, finding articles about Adeora's previous corporate achievements and mentions of her new venture in business publications. Even if it's real, Chaik warned, business partnerships can destroy relationships. What happens if things go wrong? Emeka appreciated his brother's concern, but he also remembered the look in Adeora's eyes when she spoke about Phoenix Express. That wasn't the expression of someone planning a deception. It was a fire of someone with a genuine vision who had found an unexpected ally in her quest to build something meaningful. The next morning, Emeka called Adora and accepted her offer. Their first meeting was at a small office space in Victoria Island that would serve as Phoenix Express headquarters. The contrast between this sleek, air-conditioned environment and the fuel station was jarring, but Adeora's warm welcome put him at ease. She had already prepared his employment contract and equity agreement, both of which exceeded her initial promises. "I believe in putting my money where my mouth is," she explained as they reviewed the documents. Emeka would receive a 5% equity stake that would grow based on performance, along with comprehensive health insurance and professional development opportunities. The responsibilities were daunting but exciting. He would oversee daily operations, manage driver recruitment and training, and help develop customer relationships. "I won't lie to you," Adora said seriously. "The first year will be brutal. We're competing against established companies with deeper pockets. But I believe that superior service and genuine care for customers will win in the end." As Emeka signed the contracts, his hands trembled slightly with the magnitude of the moment. Yesterday, he was an unemployed fuel attendant. Today, he was co-building a company that aimed to transform Nigerian logistics. The early weeks of Phoenix Express were indeed brutal, but energizing in ways Emeka had never experienced. Adora proved to be a demanding but fair partner, expecting excellence while providing the support and resources to achieve it. Their first challenge was assembling a team of reliable drivers, a task that drew heavily on Emeka's understanding of Lagos street culture and his ability to assess character quickly. Together, they interviewed dozens of candidates in the cramped office, looking for individuals who shared their commitment to reliability and customer service. Emeka's street credibility opened doors that might remain closed to Adora alone, while her business acumen shaped their selection criteria and training programs. They found gems like Bola, a former taxi driver with an encyclopedic knowledge of Lagos shortcuts, and Samuel, a young man whose motorcycle career experience had taught him to navigate the city's notorious traffic with almost supernatural skill. Each new hire felt like a small victory, building towards something larger than any of them could achieve individually. Phoenix Express launched with a handful of small businesses as clients, a pharmacy chain that needed reliable medicine deliveries, a bakery wanting to expand their reach, and several e-commerce startups tired of unreliable logistics partners. Emeka threw himself into understanding each client's unique needs, often working 18-hour days to ensure perfect execution of every delivery. The early success stories were modest but meaningful. When they helped a pharmacy get life-saving medication to a customer during a Lagos traffic lockdown, or when they ensured a bakery's wedding cake arrived perfectly on time despite torrential rain. Emeka felt a satisfaction he had never experienced at the fuel station. These weren't just business transactions. They were moments where Phoenix Express became part of people's important life events. Adora watched his natural customer relationship skills with growing respect. "You have something they don't teach in business school," she told him one evening as they reviewed the day's deliveries. "You genuinely care about the impact we have on people's lives. That's going to be our competitive advantage." By month 3, Phoenix Express had grown beyond their initial projections, but success brought new challenges. A major client complained about a delayed delivery that had caused some important sale, and two of their drivers quit after accidents highlighted gaps in their insurance coverage. The cramped office space felt even smaller with additional staff, and cash flow became a constant concern despite growing revenues. Emeka found himself mediating disputes, managing logistics software he barely understood, and learning business finance through trial by fire. Some days the stress was overwhelming, and he wondered if he had been foolish to leave the relative security of his fuel station job. But Adaora's unwavering confidence in their vision kept him grounded. Every successful business goes through this phase, she assured him during a particularly difficult week. The companies that survive are the ones that use these challenges to become stronger. Together, they restructured their operations, invested in better technology, and developed more comprehensive training programs. Each problem they solved felt like earning a business school degree through practical experience. The breakthrough came when Adaora's former corporate contacts began taking notice of Phoenix, Express's reputation for reliability. A multinational corporation with operations across Lagos needed a logistics partner for their internal document and equipment deliveries, a contract worth more than their previous 6 months of revenue combined. The presentation meeting would determine whether Phoenix Express could compete in the major leagues. Emeka spent weeks preparing, learning corporate terminology, and refining their service proposals with Adaora's guidance. On presentation day, his intimate knowledge of Lagos logistics challenges impressed the corporate executives in ways that surprised even Adaora. "You understand our pain points better than companies that have been in this business for decades," the procurement manager admitted. When Phoenix Express won the contract, it felt like validation of every risk they had taken and every 18-hour workday they had endured. The fuel attendant who had given free petrol to a stranger 6 months earlier was now shaking hands on a deal that would establish Phoenix Express as a serious player in the Nigerian logistics market. The corporate contract transformed Phoenix Express overnight. They moved to a larger office in Ikeja, hired additional staff, and invested in a fleet of branded vehicles. Emeka's role evolved from hands-on operations manager to strategic planning partner, working with Adaora to develop expansion plans for other Nigerian cities. The success attracted media attention, with business journals featuring their story as an example of innovative Nigerian entrepreneurship. Despite the growth, both partners remained committed to the values that had founded their partnership. They implemented profit-sharing programs for drivers, maintained personal relationships with smaller clients, and continued to prioritize reliability over pure profit maximization. Emeka established a foundation that provided business training and small loans to fuel station attendants and other service workers, remembering his own journey from economic uncertainty to business ownership. "Success isn't just about making money," he told a gathering of young entrepreneurs. "It's about creating opportunities for others and building something that makes your community stronger." A year after their partnership began, Phoenix Express was nominated for the Lagos State Small Business Excellence Award. At the ceremony, held in a gleaming hotel ballroom, Emeka reflected on the incredible journey that had brought him from sunny petroleum station to this moment. Adaora, elegant in traditional Nigerian dress, spoke eloquently about their company's mission and values, but she made sure to emphasize Emeka's crucial contributions. When Phoenix Express won in the Innovative Partnership category, Emeka's acceptance speech moved many in the audience to tears. "This award belongs to everyone who has ever taken a chance on someone else," he said, looking directly at Adaora. "Business partnerships aren't just about contracts and profit margins. They're about human beings choosing to trust each other and work towards something bigger than themselves." Later that evening, as they celebrated with their entire team, Emeka marveled at how a single decision to trust a stranger had created not just a successful business, but a new family of colleagues and friends united by shared purpose and mutual respect. With Phoenix Express firmly established, Emeka and Adaora launched the Second Chance Initiative, a program designed to identify and support service workers with entrepreneurial potential. They partnered with fuel stations, restaurants, and retail outlets across Lagos to provide business training, mentorship, and small business loans to employees who demonstrated exceptional character and vision. The program's first graduate was Tund, Emeka's former colleague from Sunny Petroleum, who used their support to launch a mobile car wash service. Others followed. A restaurant server who started a catering business, a security guard who developed an innovative home security consultation service, and a market trader who created an agricultural products distribution network. Each success story reinforced Emeka and Adaora's belief that talent and integrity existed everywhere, waiting for the right opportunity and support system. We're not just building a business, Adaora often said in interviews. We're demonstrating a different model for how successful people can lift up their communities. 2 years after that fateful day at the fuel station, Emeka returned to Sunny Petroleum as part of Phoenix Express's community outreach program. Mr. Adebayo, who had dismissed him with barely concealed satisfaction, now greeted him with elaborate courtesy and requests for business partnerships. The irony wasn't lost on Emeka, but he felt no bitterness, only gratitude for the journey that had led him to this moment. He spent the afternoon talking with current fuel attendants, sharing his story and encouraging them to see their positions as stepping stones rather than dead ends. Several expressed interest in the Second Chance initiative, and Emeka made notes about potential candidates. As he prepared to leave, he noticed a young attendant helping an elderly customer whose payment card wasn't working. The attendant was patiently explaining alternatives and offering to help resolve the situation. Emeka smiled, recognizing the same combination of integrity and customer care that had defined his own approach. He made a mental note to invite this young man to Phoenix Express for an interview. Sometimes the best business decisions began with recognizing good character in unexpected places. 5 years later, Phoenix Express had expanded to 12 Nigerian cities and was planning international operations. Emeka's equity stake had made him a millionaire several times over, but more importantly, he had found his calling as a bridge between grassroots Nigerian entrepreneurship and sophisticated business practices. His partnership with Adaora had evolved into one of the most respected business relationships in Lagos, frequently cited in business schools as an example of how complementary skills and shared values could create extraordinary results. The Second Chance initiative had supported over 200 service workers in launching their own businesses, creating a network of Phoenix Express alumni who were transforming their communities. Emeka's story became legendary in Lagos business circles. The fuel attendant who risked everything on a stranger's integrity and built an empire based on trust. But for Emeka, the most meaningful measure of success was a letter he received from Mrs. Aqua's teenage daughter, thanking him for believing in her mother during a crucial moment. "You didn't just help her business," the young woman wrote. "You helped her believe in herself again." As Emeka read those words in his corner office overlooking the Lagos Lagoon, he understood that the best business partnerships were really about human beings choosing to see the potential in each other and having the courage to act on that vision.